Okay, welcome to our Lunch and Learn session. Justin Chalk, CEO of Megabus. I have Carl Dietz from Bob with me. Thank you all for joining. We can see participants coming in. I'll share the presentation and we'll get started. All right, so the topic for today's Lunch and Learn session is how you can grow your interactions with your customer base and use the utility of the two-way texting module that's in development with Marlin GTX and due for release in the last quarter of this year. So myself, Justin Chalk, I'm the CEO of Megabus. I have Carl Dietz with me from Bob. Carl, would you like to introduce yourself and the position you have with the Australian Loyalty Association?
Cheers, thanks, Justin. Yeah, so with Bob, I run strategy and success with our clients, which essentially means when, where, why, and how to use SMS. Part of that is two-way SMS, and then all the other additional ways that you can use the channel. And then on my advisory board role with the Australian Loyalty Association, we work with some of the largest groups in Australia across their loyalty programs, how to introduce them, how to expand them, and I guess really driving this loyalty space in Australia.
Thanks, Carl. So a few housekeeping items for the session here today. So this is our Lunch and Learn format, our second session that we've now run, where we introduce and share best practices. I can see I'm getting all fuzzy in the background there. So we'll record this. We'll distribute it later for today for any attendees that did not have the opportunity to make it. It is a webinar format. You can post any questions into the chat, and we've got half an hour allocated today. So hopefully at the end we can answer some questions from the audience. Any topic discussed can be followed up with your account management team or our support team, and we'll do our best to keep on time. We'll send out, distribute a short survey after the session to understand your engagement on and to make sure that we're hitting the topics that you're after, and also we want to make sure that your time is valuable and you're getting value out of the session as well. So what we're covering today is just an overview of text engagement with consumers, a little bit of the landscape of the market more generally, where Carl can add some value, and also where we're progressing with that within our software. Some potential choices ahead and benefits with you may want to elect to have a dedicated number for your business, and we can talk about the pros and cons with that. And we'll walk through live with the software enhancements that are coming out in the last quarter, that anyone and everyone that's currently using texting will automatically roll over and see these enhancements and benefits from the work that we've been doing in the SMS space. So Carl, a bit of a summary about the SMS space and engaging consumers compared to various mediums, and what you're seeing from your side of the industry.
So there are some statistics on the page that you can see, but something I always like to talk to people, and everyone on the webinar at the moment probably has their mobile phone within arm's reach. So if you want to do it now, you can have a look at something like how many unread emails do you have, as opposed to how many unread SMSs do you have, and it gives you a little bit of an indication of where the traffic is, where the connection is, and the channel that everyone uses. But we always see a huge difference between the amount of emails and SMSs, but also the level of engagement. So as one of the stats there says, when you receive an SMS, majority of our clients and consumers, you're opening that within 90 seconds. And what we find with emails is, hour and a half, 2 hours, it could even be off the screen. And there's really a lot of other potential junk that can be in there as well. So it's a really powerful channel in real time when you need a response from people. And then also, SMS is available everywhere. So it's an always on channel. And then with that comes some key protocols and key ways to use the channel. And obviously we share that through our relationship with Megabus. But yeah, it really does have a powerful way to get to your customers, and then now allowing them to communicate quite seamlessly back with your clients and back through the software.
Fantastic. We just had a question come through, which I just want to double check that everyone is okay with seeing our screen. But we'll continue presenting. If there are other feedback from anyone, if you could let us know if you're having trouble seeing our screen, that would be appreciated. So can you talk, Carl, to me about the difference between, I guess there's some inside language to do with, long codes and short codes and cloaked codes and that, but tell us a little bit about how the world of messaging works, especially around obtaining a number or a pool of numbers, and how relationships, I guess, with software companies work with how we manage those numbers.
Yeah, so when we refer to something as a long code, essentially that's just a mobile number. And what we recommend is you can either have a pool of long codes or mobile numbers. And so the trouble with this is you could receive a message from your doctor saying, confirming your appointment at 10 o'clock tomorrow. A day later, you could get something from your vet saying your dog's ready to be picked up. And you could also get a message from your dentist saying, we're looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. That's what we call a shared long code. The risk with that, obviously, for the brand, hugely sort of denigrates the communication and the trust that you have with your audience, which is why we recommend a dedicated long code. So you have that single mobile number. So when people are receiving that in their mobile, it is just your business that's coming through what we call the thread of messages. With that comes trust. With that comes credibility. Gives the recipient the option to then save that mobile number as the contact of the business name. So in future, that's the name that will come up that's associated with that mobile number. And it really comes down to the trust and the credibility with the end consumer, your consumer.
Very good. So in terms of our implementation and how we work with texting with the connections to the telephone networks, so we do dedicate a large pool of numbers. We have a look at a bit of the mathematics around how many messages go through our systems and how many numbers we need to purchase to surface those on, which generally says that there's a high percentage chance that all of the Marlin users that are engaging in texting will be able to obtain a conversational thread with their client. So while we do an amount of investment in that, there is the additional option out there to any business that if they do want to elect to purchase your own dedicated long code to assure that you're always going to have that one-on-one conversation thread, then we can offer that and put that into the way we deliver the service as well. So just something to keep in mind, especially if you are heavily using the service and heavily getting into conversational pieces that we'll hopefully see today. So we'll flip over to the enhancements in the software that we've done. So like I said, through the latter part of this year, this will be hitting the market in terms of a normal Marlin upgrade. Part of that upgrade, if you're already using texting, you will automatically get this service. It's not something that needs to be turned on or flipped over to, and you'll just get the enhancements that come. So I have here just a standard planner screen. Everything as you would normally expect. I'm just going to put in my name and my number. And as we do that, we get a little indication that the number is working. And what you're used to seeing is a button up here that allowed you to send a single way message. That button's been removed and it's been replaced by this text box, which is a conversational thread. So I can send a message. Okay, so I can send that off, and hopefully I'll catch. Okay, so I've just received that message on my phone, and also I can bring that up here. So here's the message I just sent, and I'll be able to reply to that. All right, you can see the speed improvements with these enhancements too. So I've just sent that message back. And if I flip back to the software in a very short amount of time, there we go. So the enhancements to the way this backbone works is all real time now. So you can now have a real time conversation over text, where previously it was single way, and it was going through a queuing system to deliver the messages out. So there's been a very large overhaul of the back end of texting and communications in this version.
Yeah, and I think the importance here is the two-way conversational messaging. It's the immediacy of the environment that a customer's in, having a decision and answers provided now at the time that they want. It's sort of flipping it around, rather than a business pushing messages out and doing on their timeline. This is now with two-way, the customer getting answers, getting responses, getting a guidance on what to do next, and even taking them all the way to closing out a sale or closing out what they want. Potentially they could do all that in a couple of minutes, realistically, through this conversational pathway.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And what we showed in the last webinar was the enhancements of engagement capabilities. So in the last webinar, we showed the ability to take a work order and send a link where they can view that in their captive browser on the device, and they can sign off on the repair order and see photos and everything else. And this just adds to that thread of going, well, I can send the order now. I can get approval of the order. Can have the conversations about, we also need to do this work, etc., on the car, and get that closed. And the beauty about this being in a central tech service is that it's not sitting on a staff member's phone. It's not on the service rider's phone. It's available on every terminal, along with the history of the conversation for that number across transactions. So this conversation history belongs to the number. Wherever that number goes in the GTX system, the conversation follows it, which is a great advantage. The other thing to note is that in areas of the software that have mobile phones now, we've added this screen. So, for example, previously there was no texting capability with suppliers. So you can now add people against your supplier records, and this texting capability is now embedded in suppliers. You can also have multiple numbers available for people. So there are scenarios where you've got contacts with multiple numbers. You'll see across the top of the screen here that this single tab is this number, and you'll have other tabs that, for an account, if there's multiple numbers running, you can have the multiple phones that you're having conversations to. So it's been quite thoroughly thought out there. The other piece of value add that we want to show. Okay, so I will ask the question. So there's a question from the field that's popped up, is whether you could see my mobile screen again, and you would like to see the sender details. So I'm quite sure that you've just got my the sender details here are coming from a number. So that is one of the pool numbers that we are we've purchased. There is the opportunity for our users to purchase their own dedicated number. So those two things are available there. Carl, I'm sure we have this conversation and question come up often. Can I have my name appear there? So as an example, I just had a power blackout this morning, and my energy provider there is United Energy, and and they've got their name there. Could our clients have their name there?
Yeah, so you can have, with the Aussie telcos, you're restricted to 11 characters, as an alphanumeric sender ID. Now, a couple of options here. If you send out using a sender ID, it then prevents you from direct two-way conversational messaging. So a lot of our retail clients do that when it's say it's a sale promotion. It's again, the branding, the credibility, the trust is there because it has their brand as a sender ID, but it's not the journey of conversation which even needs the two-way conversation happening. Whereas with the long code or the mobile number, that really is a separate part of the journey rather than pure promotional. It's we're engaging in a conversation. We're going to get you to your response and your answer and your outcome now. There's absolute need for having both say a dedicated long code and using your sender ID. So you can balance in that way as well. Again, some people may save your dedicated long code in their phone differently to your brand. It could be an abbreviation of your brand. It could be something that helps them remember, but you do have the option there for more, I guess, the promotional campaign-based sender ID, the alphanumeric, and then conversational two-way tends to be the dedicated long code. And one thing that I'll get Justin to show in a minute is when you're in that template and that platform, if you go across one to your building out your SMS onto the other side into this area, there's going to be a number of repeatable actions and repeatable, I guess, templates that you can have in this platform. I think at the moment there's half a dozen pre-written so that you're not sending out and writing out 2 or 3 lines of the same text to 40 people today or 10 people.
Yep.
You can just preload these templates which are already written and then add in elements like first name, rego, vehicle, all these elements. It just brings it straight in, as you can see on the screen now. So again, huge time saver to put all this together.
Yeah, and following on from that question, I'll add that I have just in my phone saved that number as my local workshop. And as you can see here now, that number has changed to be my workshop. And I guess, so just reinforcing the key differentiator, if we use a named number, that does not allow for conversational text. You'll notice that you can never reply to these types of one-way messages. If we go with a long code number and provisioning that enables conversations.
Cool.
So I hope that answers the question. Question from the field again: can you get around this by sending a contact card and asking the customer save it? Absolutely. That's a really great idea, and also another great way to transport all of your contact details in a virtual card that would allow them to save all the details about your business, including your address for Google Maps and all that as well. That's a really good question and some great feedback. So what I'll do is we'll move on slightly to this another area of texting in the software that I think is probably underused by our analysis of what people use in the software. And with conversations, it really brings on an added benefit to moving and using this area of the software. So that is our Sales Explorer module. So under inquiries, there is the Sales Explorer module. And I have it running over here in a very simple form. But what this module really does is allow you to deep dive on your data in many different ways to ask questions of it, to get out mobile phone numbers and get out messages to those numbers. So the top section allows you to build your criteria. So I can do previous drilling down on product sales. I can do drilling down on my customer base, invoice data, or vehicle or follow-up data. And as an example of how this works is once you choose the dimension, you get a whole lot of extra ways you can restrict on that. So for example, here I've done a date, any date from September last year as one dimension. And then another dimension of any product group, for example, a Continental Tyre. And so I've run that analysis, and it's gone and dug up every single invoice that meets that criteria. And it's got a lot of smarts to do with delivery in here. So traditionally, if I had email or even post, or here we've got SMS, you don't want, let's just say I had 5 invoices that met that criteria. I don't want to spam my customer base with 5 text messages. So this module is all about identifying the uniqueness and rolling those down to enable you to have one contact based on that rather than blasting the world. So once you've done that restriction, you can come in here and hit the text message button now, and we've got some nice enhancements to allow you to personalize the message and then send the message out, and also draw upon templates. You can template all this information as well. So if I follow that, hi, we're having a Christmas sale. It's been 3 years since you bought these tires last. It's around about the same time. We should see you again. You can blast that out.
And where you've got the personalization on the right-hand side, we just see so much more higher engagement and trust when you are bringing in some elements of hi Justin, blah, blah, hi Carl, all those elements. So where everyone on the call has an opportunity to do that, I highly encourage them to include one of the variable fields that are on the right.
Yeah. So there's some great use cases that we'll push out in a bit of an electronic mail following this, but anything from reminders to spot sales to even seasonal things, right? So that most of you would sell batteries, and we all love those because they come in and they usually fail a battery test because they get old and the cells die and they lose their capacity over time. So just drilling back a number of years to go through your battery sales and hit it out is, you're due for a battery test, come in. It's a great way to get that engagement. And with the two-way, you can be a lot more engaging because you can address the person's name and you can ask them a question, right? You can ask them a question about that service. And with the two-way texting, you'll get that engagement rather than just broadcasting that we've got a sale. Ask them a question and you may be able to drive engagement based on that. Question from the audience is also, are you able to insert kind of like I guess links or web addresses? I think in here there's an example of like a URL link. Do you want to talk about what you've seen in the space there?
So yeah, absolutely. Again, this is kind of linked with conversation around, I've recently received some SMSs that are a bit spammy, ask me to pay certain bills and all of that. So best practice here is we basically map or have the URL, as we call that link there, is matched to the store, matched to the shop, matched to that business. Possibly shortened a little bit, but yeah, we don't use the bit.ly links and all these other generic URLs. Then it's an additional point of trustworthiness that matches the store and the shop that it's coming from. And then just on your note before around the messaging and seasonal messaging, we've seen some great results. This could be applicable probably to most people. Great results where, let's say before the Christmas break or the Christmas period, a message goes out to even all of your existing customers and saying, something along the lines of coming for a battery test. Again, it gets on people's mind going, okay, fine, it's not going to cost much, or it's free or something. I'll get that checked before we go on holiday. So it doesn't always have to be promotional, doesn't always have to be operational. There's all these really nice soft touch points that you can have with your customers that you may have seen every year or 2 years or 3 years. But it's such a nice relationship builder with your customers when you do say before Easter, before Christmas, come in, get everything checked out. And then from that, potentially there could be some great new batteries that come from it. But it's just expanding really the use cases on how you use this channel in a really intelligent way, but respect your customers as well. So we're absolutely not saying push lots and lots of messages. They're quality messages using the right channel.
Yeah, excellent. And just to add to that, all the existing automatic messages in the planner and the reminders and the software, they're all carried forward. The difference is this time that if the customer does engage back, you'll get that notification straight to your desktop, where previously they've been stuck in space. So that's a really great advancement with this update as well. So that's good. All right, happy to look at the time. We've got 5 minutes to go. Looking at questions from the audience. As we move on, I'm sure there's people in the audience that are willing to look at an early adopter of this version that we can work with to make sure that we're getting the points of value across, we're delivering the points of value. So we're always welcoming people to put their hands up and work with us on the cutting edge side of releases. So if any of you out there are willing to walk that path with us, we'll engage with you and make sure that you're looked after in getting this feature out to market. I think if we got another question here. Yeah, so there's a question from Ari about spam and you know how you make things not look as spammy, or questions about people receiving spam.
Yeah, good question, Ari, and it comes up all the time. So I receive occasional SMSs from spammers and scammers, and not once have they addressed me by my first name. So again, linking back to the fields that you have the access to bring them into messages, where you have access to that, absolutely bring in their first name. And also it's the recency and relevancy of the message that you're sending out. So normally in this environment with the shops and with the two-way communication, it's highly relevant. It's been driven from an inquiry. So it's the timeliness which sort of pushes most of the spam away. And then, yeah, if there is a link, we have a branded link. And then the language. You don't have overuse of inappropriate emojis and all that. Like if you would use an emoji, it's very specific to the message. But at this stage, I'd say keep it clean, keep it as a plain text, address them by their first name. If you've got reference to a rego number and it's applicable what you're doing, bring in that rego number. And then it's just 100% trusted as a message in their phone. So they're the simplest ways to do it.
Very good. All right. So at the moment, there's no extra questions that have come in. So I'd like to thank Carl for your time. Thanks for your partnership and all the, it's really all the insights that you bring from seeing this at a very broad level that helps us, form the solution and all the feedback on the interface and everything you've done, which is great for us. And look forward to getting this out and seeing the value we're adding and the use across our user base. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining the webinar, and we'll see you next time for the next Lunch and Learn. Well done.
Thanks.